Hi again, Internet. Chapter 11 is just going to be a brief little, filler between the last episode and Chapter 12, where things are going to start to get a little more intense. Um, so the website is inwardmarkings.com, where you can find the YouTube link to get to the first 10 chapters of this vlog, which you'll need to watch to make sense of today and subsequent episodes. And the Instagram is at Inward Markings. My name's Joe. The clothing label is called the Inward Markings Garment Company. Tiny little thing that will probably just be just a little blip on the internet history list, but it's all good. So I left off last time very abruptly, but I kind of liked the idea of it kind of ending like that, even though it was just an accident. With premonitionary dreams, which I'll mention later in this episode, and which I'll go into more detail in the subsequent chapters of this vlog. But I just want to talk about my time in Bangkok, and as I said last chapter, my opiate dependence did not fundamentally alter who I was, what I considered important, and my innate need to commit to things like helping others and kindness, for want of a better word. So it wasn't just what I was doing online, but also the way I engaged with Bangkok when I went out into the city. I just found it felt very important to me to try and commit to interacting with the people of Bangkok in a way that stood apart from disrespectful behaviour that I saw and know of from other tourists or travellers, visitors, especially those from a Western background. But really, not just about that, just about this idea that people from certain backgrounds or who look a certain way, whether it be because they have darker skin or whatever, can somehow be mistreated or looked down upon or expected to behave and serve in certain ways. It's just garbage. It is fucking human garbage. These people that traipse around the fucking developing world thinking that they fucking, in the words of Island Soho, own the world. It's just, these people are garbage, and any mishaps that they encounter, I feel fucking nothing for them, nothing. And the universe, for what it's worth, call me crazy, I could not give the faintest flying toss. The universe is fine with that. The universe is fine with this garbage going through whatever course of life that it needs to. But that's just my perspective. I could be completely delusional, and you and your mates can keep traveling, and your buddies can keep traveling to these places and treating people like absolute shit, and let's see where it gets you. But you got to give it the proper timelines. That's the beautiful thing about the way the universe works. Like, on a long enough timeline, the longer the timeline, the harsher the consequence. So there were great people in Bangkok, and this ties in with the idea of a protective force that I now realise has been in my life over time. And so just people ended up looking after me, not because I expected it or not because I was doing things to warrant it or anything like that. I just found myself experiencing good fortune continually with people. So examples are, I had difficulty with my rent during periods, especially during the final period before I came to Australia, and the landlord was incredibly kind and understanding towards me, and still just maintained his end of the deal even though I was having difficulties. So he would, the maintenance, and he would always treat me with respect. And the people in the neighbourhood always continually treated me with respect, even though they could see me at times being, stressed out and what have you, and they knew of my opiate dependence. There was another occasion where my computer completely broke down, and I really needed it for my work. There was just no other option that I could have, that I could foresee at that I could see at that time. And the place where I tried to get it repaired, who couldn't eventually repair it, they ended up like selling me this computer for a price way below. Like, when they offered it to me, I said what money I had, and he kind of just can't remember if he went to the back or not, but he just said, "Oh, look, it looks like you've got important work to do. Just have it for that." And yeah, you know, it was probably overpriced, but it's a decent computer that I still use, and everything just flowed so well. Like, whenever I encountered roadblocks, there was always something or someone in Bangkok who would show me an alternative route, and it was just so fucking great. And I didn't, like, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that and on social media, I refer to Thailand as the kingdom, as I've said. And I wouldn't lightly, put a name like that to a place, but it just became this magical place because all the kind of hurdles that I'd had in Australia, they were all just like, they just didn't seem to have any kind of significance in Bangkok. Yes, they occurred, but things always just seem to pan out, and I just feel like that's part of the protective factor. And so the second part of that flow phase or trance-like stage, was the academic editing, and again, that came at the right time, and the client was really poor in terms of timing of payment. But again, that just works. So like, the people downstairs would give me food if I was waiting on the payment the next day. The landlord would always be accommodating. It just wouldn't happen in Australia, And that's another fucking vlog to talk about why that is, and I won't do that because it'll fucking bore the hell out of everyone, more than this, in fact. And in kind of that, around the similar time when I had the premonition dreams, or I think a bit prior to it, experienced something that I now realise was part of this synchronicity that I've experienced throughout my life, that's gradually intensified up until the last kind of 22 months, and just found myself in the exact same place and time as a gentleman who is Australian from New South Wales, who's a war correspondent. His name's Jack Picone, actually. Amazing man. This Jack Picone should have fucking 10 episodes of Australian Story on him. This guy is incredibly humble, so he's not searching for it, but if you look up Jack Picone, JackPicone, you will see an extraordinary life that is underpinned by a beautiful perspective on the world. And so I found myself sitting at a table alongside him and just couldn't help but overhear, because he was talking animatedly with other photographers. He's no longer a war correspondent, but then ran into him at the exact moment and place on 2 further occasions, and over that time, and I just felt compelled to introduce myself to him. And then eventually I did his Wikipedia page and helped him out with that, and just the research that was involved with that meant that I got to learn a lot more about him. And at the time, I just thought, this is just one of those things that happens. But now, based on what's happened in the lead up to the launch of Inward Markings, I now realise that was part of this destined process. And Jack is not someone or Dr. Jack Picone is not someone completely random. He has worked in the area of HIV prevention, and he's worked in connection with illicit drug use as well, or the use of drugs that are currently illicit. And so there's a strong resonance there in terms of my life experience and his. So look up Jack Picone on Wikipedia, not because I want you to fucking be impressed by my page, but his life is amazing. It's genuinely amazing. Is there anything else during that period? Oh yes, there was the means legitimate. There was the legitimate means for me to maintain my opiate dependency at a reasonable cost and without any legal or administrative problems. And I was able to do it on my own terms. I didn't need to jump through hoops. And then another aspect was I overstayed my visa in the final phase for about, I think, 20 months. And there wasn't even a peep from anyone in my community or the neighborhood, or there just wasn't any drama. Like, I didn't make it known. I don't think anyone really knew. People might have suspected, but everyone continued to treat me respectfully. And I'm not saying that I expected that or that I shouldn't have been reported in some way, but it just adds to this overall context. And everything I talk about in these vlogs is about an overall context. It's not me fucking getting overly excited about one-off incidents or this, that, and the other. It's an overall context, and I think anyone who's actually paying attention will understand that. And so I will talk about the final period in Bangkok and how I ended up getting back to Australia in the next chapter. But yes, there were 2 premonitionary dreams in Bangkok that were of great significance. One is of great significance. The other kind of just is it's just like a wink from the universe to show me this realm beyond the material world. And that wink occurred right on that corner across the park there. And as I abruptly ended off last episode, if you watch the Vans passport collaboration video on Thrasher magazine, you will see the event. I attended it, and the only way I attended it was because the synchronicity occurred like an hour beforehand with a local skater that was it. I'll talk about that later, but it was just completely serendipitous to the point of being a synchronicity, and occurred in two stages. But yes, the only thing missing was the live band, for anyone who's seen the Vans and Passport video. But yes, I will talk about it next chapter. It's just such a fucking beautiful day today. So my tone is upbeat. I just feel incredible energy throughout me. Have the greatest day or night, wherever and whatever you're doing. And thank you for anyone who's done anything, even if it's not visible to me, in support of this vlog. Even if you just, like, before you went to sleep one night thought, oh fuck, I should check out that vlog, or I think it's cool that Joe's doing this vlog. Thank you kindly. See ya.